All right. Next one we have Brandon and Mitch. Um, I believe it was the week of the podcast that Mitch was on. He declared that he was going to be a fantasy playoff team. He was in the trenches. No one thought he was going to even come close to the playoffs since that podcast aired. Nothing but dubs for Mitch. He got on the Dak train early enough. He's always been on the CD Lamb train. They're stacking. Mitch has a chance to win the league just because he has Dak Prescott and CD Lamb. I don't foresee them having a bad week. They both scored 30 on Thursday, so um, I mean, even with that, I guess he's still. I mean, Brandon's still projected within five. I know Brandon is not taking any comfort in that. He hates projections. He had a huge game. Brandon had a huge game from Ferguson. Um, but that just means that it helped Dak even more. But even with the 60 bomb from his quarterback wide receiver stack, Brandon's still in it. And Brandon's, we already know it's the same old with Brandon. He had a tough year. A lot of his players injured, a lot of his players not playing up to their potential. Herbert is a top five fantasy quarterback. Somehow it's just not helping him win leagues. There's always that weird thing where you have a top quarterback, but they aren't good enough to help you win weeks. You just need quarterbacks that are going to score you 40 every so often just to get you a win. You get a guy like Justin Herbert who's just consistent, you know, getting his 20s, and his top game is 36. I mean, that's his ceiling game. He's hit 30 maybe twice. But then beyond that, you have a 12-point game, you have a 6-point game, and you have a 15-point game. So you need the consistent score to be high 20s, and then you need those 30, 40-point games every 3 games or so to help you win weeks. And although Justin Herbert's been pretty consistent, he just is not having those highs. He's having those random low games instead. Brees Hall, great. Everyone's been trying to trade Brandon for him, I believe. Swift, I've been trying to get Swift. I honestly wanted to win a championship with all Philadelphia Eagles players. I would have gone down with that ship as well. I was trying to make it happen. I thought it would have been awesome, but you guys did not allow for that. Um, Maybe next year I'll try again. Jamar Chase, dude's playing with a backup quarterback, but even before that, it just seems like a weird year for him. Brandon Ayuk seemed like he was going to be like the fantasy MVP. He just started off super hot. Um, 32 points in week one. I think he got injured in there, and then it just kind of went downhill from there. 2 weeks ago, scored 26. He's been double digits, high teens. So I don't know. Just again, kind of a weird season for him too. And then Calvin Ridley. I did try to get him a couple times as well. There's a stat out there that like anytime Zay Jones is active in the game, Calvin Ridley does amazing, and Zay Jones has been hurt. So there is like, and I could be very wrong about this, but there's like a correlation to like when Zay Jones plays, Calvin Ridley like goes off for some reason. They're just buds and they just help each other. So I think Zay Jones is playing this week, so I foresee just another big week from Calvin Ridley. Um, so yeah, I think again he's putting the best team out there every week. They just got to perform. It's nothing on him. I don't think he's made any bad moves. His players just aren't playing for him. So um, it's just a really frustrating season when it's like that. You just really feel helpless and you can't do anything about it. But that is fantasy football, so I don't feel too bad for you, Brandon. But I get it. Mitch, already talked about him. Just hopefully someone just upsets him in the first round of the playoffs, or a couple crazy games bounce in the direction of the other team. I definitely don't want to play him in the playoffs now with that Dak CD stack. And then don't forget, I mean, Michael Pittman has quietly been a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. He's number 13, so he's up there. And then again, Brian Robinson, quietly a top 5 fantasy. Jerome Ford has come on. He's he's ranked number 23, and um, I don't even remember what week Chubb broke his leg, but I mean he wasn't even the starter from week 1, and he's still 20 RB 23. So I think it's one of those situations where the potential that Mitch saw in these guys early on is finally paying off. They're finally coming around for him. Almost kind of like the opposite of Brandon, I feel. Like they have two very different teams. Brandon, very high popular names that aren't doing well, and Mitch has kind of got this gutter team that just his dudes just want to play for him. His dudes just want to just go out on the field and leave it all out there for Coach Mitch. So um, respect to that as well. I don't see a world where Mitch loses, but I'm going to just put it out there. I think Brandon's going to win because that is, again, just this season. Like all signs point to Mitch should win and move on up the ladder. But because of that, I think Brandon's just going to win just because he probably shouldn't win this week, so he probably will. And that's my only reason for that. All right, then we got JC and Justin, two teams on opposite ends of the spectrum. Justin's team is officially eliminated as of last week, so he's just kind of playing to be that upset team to, get those trap games for some of the top teams. He's got Lehman this week, and then I believe I play him next week, so he could really disrupt what's happening at the top of the leaderboard there, which, if it were me, that's kind of a fun thing, to know that you're kind of messing around with that first seed if you can sneak in a win. So don't lose hope, Justin. I still hope you win this week. But let's look at your team here. Projected 114 points. You didn't have a bad turnout from Brandon Cooks, your wide receiver 2 for the Cowboys there. That touchdown really helped you there. 16 is not bad from your wide receiver 2. I think you're pretty happy with that. You got Sam Howell, who, again, sneaky, 6th ranked quarterback in fantasy. Dude just loves to pass. I think he passes like 70 times a game. So pairing him up with Curtis Samuel in your flex, I think that's a great idea. And then you got Rashad White, however you say it. Again, sneaky top running back. These running backs are crazy. I think he's got a good matchup this week. I think he'll do pretty well against Carolina. David Montgomery, great back. He's been great all year. Chris Olave, I thought he had a concussion, so I don't know if he's not. I don't think he's going to play. So hopefully you have a pivot. It looks like, just all your players are injured. So you have Jeff Will. Yeah, you don't have any bench players that are projected more than 8 points. So hopefully for you, Chris Olave plays, but I don't think a player has played the same week that they've gotten a concussion. I don't think anyone's cleared concussion protocol within the same week this year. I think they're kind of trying not to do that in the NFL. Pat Freiermuth, great tight end, great pickup. I don't know how much you got him for. Let's see. $3, yeah. So I mean, if he's an $8 keeper next year, I think that's a great keeper. I don't know your prices of your other guys, but I think he's a great end of the year pickup for you. Just a team that needed more IR spots, again, out of your control, but it does happen in fantasy. I'm sorry, man. Lehman projected 140. I believe he scored over 200 last week, so pretty solid squad, I'd say. He's got Josh Allen on bye, so he's starting Purdy, but I'm really not sure even if Josh Allen wasn't on bye, would he still start Brock Purdy? I think he would. Philly loves to get in shootouts with teams, and they're going to give up a lot of points. His whole roster's got a lot of green, and that's what I look for every time I build my roster each week. The opponent ranks. If they're green, that means good. And pretty much all of his players are green this week, so I don't foresee the upset here. Um, Stevenson's balling out for New England that can't even score more than 14 points a game. Pacheco, I think he might be the big disappointment for Lehman's team this week. I think it's a tough matchup against Green Bay. That 24th worst run defense rank, I think, is a little misleading. I think Packers have gotten better each week. Um, so I think and I hope that Pacheco just has a terrible game. Tyreek Hill playing like the worst secondary in the league is just going to be chaos, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes off for 40 points this week. Keenan Allen did not practice today, or was that yesterday? I think he's hurt, so even if he does play, I think it was quad. High chance that he hurts it within the first series or two. Um, but you still got to start him. But that guy is fragile and he's old. So don't be surprised if you see a good win Justin text from Lehman in the first two series when Keenan Allen goes out with an injury. Sam Laporta, I think he is going to regress back to the mean. He had a lot of boom games, so I think he's kind of due to kind of calm the fuck down there. So again, not surprised if he scores like an 8, 9, 10 point game, which um, is really disappointing for kind of a team like Lehman's, a 10-2 team who scores 200 points. You don't want to see any player that scores under 15. You're kind of disappointed with. So I think Laporta definitely mixed with Pacheco might be under those 15. That's going to be my prediction for Lehman's team. Um, but I don't think it's going to matter with Tyreek Hill, Brock Purdy. Karen Williams is probably going to go off again. Again, they play Cleveland. Cleveland has been getting way worse on defense. Um, they lost a bunch of guys, so that ranking as well should be more in the green. I think they're not at full strength, so I think he'll feast again this week. And although I do not think Lehman's going to score 200, um, I think he'll still beat Justin, just because I don't think Justin's team can score enough points to beat Lehman. But I think Lehman will score under his projection of 140. I think he's going to fall short of that, but still get the dub.